NexTech, NEXCF. And again, our goal is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. Companies going after massive multi-billion-dollar market opportunities at a key inflection point with multiple catalysts in place. And look, right now we are introducing the leaders of the next bull market. And again, this is one of the things we've been talking about is the next bull market is always driven by the hot new theme. And of course, anybody with a pulse knows that AI is the mega trend of 2023. All the major bull markets always start off with a major new trend. So again, it's AI and also AR. Apple is going to be launching the AR glasses, and NexTech this stock is at the intersection of the two. Really, these, without exaggeration, these are the generational mega trends: AI, the generative AI, and AR, augmented reality, right at the intersection of the transformation of the $5 trillion e-commerce industry to this new world of 3D commerce with 3D products. So again, I couldn't be more excited. And this is a company that's been doing everything that they've promised. With that said, Evan, after the long introduction, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Jack. Great to be back. I think it's important for all of our viewers to really understand that augmented reality is where we began. 3D, AI, AR, ML, the Internet of Things. We've always been talking about this. We've never changed what we've been talking about on your show. We've talked about the intersection of all these technologies, a convergence of all these technologies. And we were talking about this in 2019.
That's right. 2019.
And 2019. And what's happened, Jack, it's very, very interesting. It's profoundly interesting, is that each year it seems like another piece of the tech, of this converging technology, becomes that king, that big driver where it has some kind of a breakout. There was a breakout with augmented reality and 3D models, really, in 2022. And that's continuing now in 2023. There's now a breakout with AI, generative AI, in 2023. Who knows what 2024 is going to bring? But the point is that all these technologies are being used by NexTech to create value for our shareholders. There is no doubt that we are on the cusp of an AI-powered revolution that will redefine our world. This is big. It's going to redefine the limits of human intelligence. The reality is that the computers, we all know, are going to be smarter than we are. And that's going to be, like, I don't know. I mean, that's hard to fathom, right? Because we're the king. I was just talking to my daughter about this. I was like, we're the smartest species on the planet today. And so we kind of rule. Well, what happens when human intelligence is surpassed by machine intelligence? They call it the singularity event, right? And it really is a profound discussion. I think I'm just bringing it up because what we're witnessing right now in 2023 is the tip of the iceberg in terms of AI and its implications on humanity. But unlike the metaverse, which is really this untested concept in a lot of ways, it's really not fully formed. I mean, nobody's actually entered the metaverse. I don't know, you've been there, I haven't really been there. But unlike the metaverse, which is untested, AI is now being implemented today into existing systems as software. We at NexTech are using AI to make our production of 3D models better, faster, cheaper. And really hundreds of millions, billions of people in 2023 will be interfacing, whether they know it or not, with generative AI within months. I'm not talking years. This is happening now, and the B2B market is exploding, which is why you're seeing Microsoft and Google and all the big tech companies jockey for position. Now, NexTech is in position. We're already in position. We have a niche market, and that is 3D models for e-com. We've been at it since 2019. We now have Amazon. We have other big names soon to be announced, all the big boys. And that puts us in a very, very unique place as a company. The AI is going to drive our revenue, our profitability, and our cash flow. Without the AI, and I've been talking about this in 2022, it's now all starting to come together in 2023. We've been putting out a number of press releases speaking to our generative AI and AI in general getting stronger and more robust. It's now growing exponentially. And in a minute, we're going to have a demo of our latest and greatest platform, which is Toggle 3D, which is what we're really here to talk about. But I thought it was important to kind of put some context around it, Jack, that Toggle 3D is our AI IPO. It is our AI IPO. That NexTech has a number of different.
It's better because actually people are getting free AI
you get shares. Yeah,
they get free shares. This is the second time. This is by the way, this is really, I think, unprecedented. I mean, literally, I don't remember if I've ever seen. I'm trying to think beyond Safeguard, or I haven't seen anybody, forever do this type of thing where you're a shareholder in a tech company, and the tech company spins out these other companies, and essentially you're creating this value for investors. Essentially, anybody in the last year, they would have gotten shares of the AR way. Now they're going to get shares, and if you calculate the returns, it actually adds up to a lot because both stock AR way worked out. This thing is most likely going to work out. I mean, it's very exciting. So we're going to have two. So the agenda for today is we're going to have a demo. We're going to have the demo, and we're going to introduce a special guest in just a little bit. We're going to give the demo for Toggle 3D, which is the spin-out, the AI spin-out of NexTech. And then we're going to get to the audience questions. We got a lot of great. I haven't seen this many questions in a long time. This is really, really interesting.
Maybe it's the AI. Maybe all the questions are coming from
it's coming
like they've infiltrated, and it's all AI questions.
And I think, you know what? I think anybody watching this should go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, hey, what are the best questions to ask next? Like, maybe, but we're getting some really good questions. So hopefully we have time.
We'll come back to that. So let's move. So without further ado, so we have teams. I just want to again give some context. So ARway was spun out. There's a team of 20 people that are working at ARway, creating value, signing deals, and doing business on a regular basis. Toggle 3D has a team of about 10, which is expanding rapidly. And Dasha is the chief product officer. In other words, she's been working night and day and night, diligently behind the scenes. Some of you might have seen her recently, but she's been working on making sure that this technology is adopted at a mass scale, which is no easy thing to do, meaning to have tech is one thing, but to create a positive user experience, to have the marketing, to have the pricing right. She's analyzed all of our competitors. You've mentioned Figma. She's analyzed them to death. Adobe, she's analyzed them to death. AutoCAD analyzed. So she's gone out and analyzed the market, taken all of that research back and applied it to Toggle 3D, as that's what the chief product officer has to do, and created a very, very friendly user experience. And so she's a key player, and she's going to be a key reason why Toggle 3D is going to be the Grand Slam home run investment and next spin-out for all of our investors that are paying attention. So without further ado, Jack, let's bring Dasha into the program.
I just want to add one last thing before we bring in Dasha, which is, you said that NexTech is really focused right now on the niche, applying AI to this niche of 3D commerce, and you have companies like Amazon as a client. It should also be said that all the great companies that ever built massive multi-billion-dollar franchises, whether it's Amazon or anybody else, they start with one niche, they dominate that niche, and then they expand. Just like Amazon dominated books, and then they expanded and to other iterations, other markets. And NexTech, I think, has that very same opportunity. So it's something for people to think about. Without further ado, let's bring in Dasha, and I'll come back after. I think so. Dasha will be on the screen, and I'll come back for the questions. Right? We'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on a second, Evan. So we'll go away.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jack, for having me, and thank you, Evan, for that introduction. Without further ado, I'll jump right into Toggle. So I'll do a quick little intro with the presentation, and then we'll jump into the demo. So let me share my screen here. Okay. Will you see that okay? I'll take silence as acceptance. Okay.
Yeah, everything is good.
Okay, awesome. So Toggle 3D, we've mentioned it before, our web-based design studio. But let me define that a little bit further in this very quick overview, because Toggle 3D really is more than just that. It's the web application for converting, texturing, customizing, and sharing high-quality 3D models. And we do this all in one place, all under one umbrella. If you look at the current market today, you can do these things, but they're separated among lots of different softwares. We're hearing today that some of our early adopters are using 5-6 different softwares to accomplish everything that we're doing in Toggle, all under one umbrella, all in one place. With this technology, as a quick overview, we're disrupting the 160 billion CGI software market. We're really building this for anybody. So we're gearing it towards new 3D artists that have never experimented with the industry before, but also those that are very well equipped with 3D artist tools, but they're always telling us they're missing something. And we're there to solve that problem as well. The third point here, so we are AI powered. You've seen a lot of press releases about this, but a lot of the material generation that we do in Toggle, a lot of these conversions, that is all driven by AI. And that's the way that we're really scaling the platform in 3D content creation. And that brings me to my last point here. So our way of scaling the 3D creation is really starting from that CAD file. CAD files, we've mentioned it before, every single physical product you see out there today, and a lot of things that you see in the digital, they all start from CAD files. So we're taking something that's already in the industry and we're repurposing it for 3D content creation. So I'll jump here really quickly, not going to spend too much time on this slide, but why design in 3D? I'll summarize it with our world's in 3D, why would the digital not be? Right, so kind of breaking it out to 3 points right here. The first one is really having to do with prototyping. Right, so designing in 3D gives you that opportunity to play around with colors, textures, finishes, materials, and look at this in 360, in AR, and make these final design decisions before you ever hit manufacturing. The second point here is enhanced collaboration. So imagine you're a B2B manufacturer, and you're customizing your product for a particular client. Rather than trying to customize a 3D object in a 2D environment, Toggle 3D gives you the opportunity to do this in 3D. So you're ultimately designing and making these final decisions and collaborating in the same medium that you'll ultimately be producing in. And then lastly, you're saving time and costs. We're repurposing CAD files, something that all manufacturers already have. It's quick, it's scalable, and ultimately very affordable. Today, Toggle 3D looks something like this. So we'll start from the bottom here. You import a CAD file or other formats. We will take GLB, OBJ, DAY files, kind of other formats besides CAD. And we have this converter inside of Toggle. And without the user really having to know anything that's happening in the back end, we'll convert the file, we'll prepare the file, and we'll put the file into the design editor in Toggle for you to then take the next step. And the next step here is summarized by these templates. So the question that we ask users after we've converted and prepared their file is, what do you want to create? Are you trying to texture a 3D model? Are you trying to create a 3D material? Are you creating a configurator? And very soon we're going to be asking the question of, do you want to stage your 3D model in a virtual photography scene? So as you can see here, the magic here is, we've templatized a lot of these user workflows in order to simplify this process and democratize 3D design. So very quickly here, how does Toggle work today? It's very simple. You import your CAD or your 3D file, you add materials, you can make your own material, you can add more than one material onto a 3D model. Oftentimes, we'll see it either in the prototyping design phase, or maybe you already know that your product comes in multiple different variations. You can use the same 3D model in order to display all of those material options. And then lastly, you share it. So whether that means you're exporting it, sharing it on your e-commerce site, you do that all within Toggle. This is a really powerful slide, and this is the one I really want to drive home today. And this is the fact that, our approach to 3D design is we're really taking that CAD file and we're making it the engine for 3D. What that means is you have one CAD file and endless opportunities that you can use it in different parts of the product lifecycle. So we'll just start with product design here. So imagine you have this CAD file. You're not too sure yet what the final product's gonna end up looking like in terms of the materials, the textures, the colors. You have your engineering kind of geometry, but sort of what's the next step after that? Toggle 3D will let you design and put photorealistic materials onto your 3D model, spin it around, try it in AR, and make those decisions faster with your stakeholders. Customization, second part right here. So you can imagine that in the earlier sort of B2B manufacturing scenario that I gave, where you have this product and you're customizing it for your client. You can work together, customize it, price it, quote it, CPQ. So Toggle really lends itself to that as well. You have the e-commerce use case number 3 here. So this is the one that we know and love at NexTech. You make your 3D model, you put it on your website. It replaces a lot of your 2D photos and way more interactive for the user. You have your product marketing and ads. So very soon here, once we bring in the virtual photography studio, not only are you going to be able to make your 3D model, but now you can place it into a scene. And that scene can really kind of take over all your 2D images. You can render it in different lighting, different backgrounds, and use it for product photography, for catalogs, for marketing, for ads. And the amount of time and money that you save with this use case is endless. And then lastly, 3D modeling. So this is the most simple, it's the one that you have to do in order to accomplish all the others. But 3D modeling, whether you're doing it for fun, you're using it in videos, gaming, just using it to reproduce products. We've seen a lot of use cases with just 3D modeling and then placing it in these mixed reality scenes. And so once again, all of these different use cases are powered through one CAD file that can be repurposed for every single aspect that I just mentioned here. Target markets. So the markets that we're going to be targeting for the promotion of Toggle 3D is kind of anywhere from manufacturers that manufacture and sell their own products, to engineering product design firms, to service firms and marketing agencies, B2B manufacturers, and we've actually seen academic institutions pick up this software. That's really exciting for us because we can get into the market really early, and all of these aspiring industrial designers, product designers, we can get in front of them before they even hit the industry. I'll touch really quickly on target users. So the users that we're targeting are really those next-gen users of 3D visualization. So product industrial designers, 3D artists, graphic designers, no matter their experience level, no matter if they've tried 3D design before, all of these users are perfect use cases and perfect users of Toggle 3D. You'll see here there's a market size that we kind of took up here really quickly. So today, in terms of CAD users, there's already 7.3 million CAD users today. In terms of 3D artists, just taking one software, Blender, a lot of 3D artists start with that software when they're trying to go into the field. There's anywhere from 3 to 5 million Blender users. You have graphic designers coming from the Adobe Creative Cloud ecosystem, which today is about 30 million. So all of the target users for Toggle, very big, very large number, lots of target users that we're hoping to onboard to Toggle. And that kind of brings me over to the size of our market opportunity. So right now, we're targeting the global computer graphics market. Just the software application is going to be worth $160 billion by 2027. And the main thing that is really driving the growth of this industry are those 3D design softwares. So you'll see a lot of shift from 2D to 3D now and into the future, into 2027. Really quickly, the pricing model for Toggle before I jump into the demo. So we have 2 licenses today. We have the free, that's free forever. And then we have the pro. That's priced at $29 per month per seat. And that's what's going to give you access to these more advanced AI-powered tools that we're going to be demoing today. Very soon, we'll also be expanding the platform to offer team licenses and enterprise. And we'll have updates on those shortly as well. And just lastly here, I'll touch on the competition because Toggle is really disrupting the design software market. And there's nobody really out here today that's doing kind of what Toggle is doing. The current software that we're seeing, the legacy systems, they require a very specialized skill set to use. In other words, you pretty much need a bachelor's and a pretty hefty pocket in order to learn and use these different softwares. Also, in the beginning of the presentation, I noted that in order to go from CAD and reach your end 3D visualization goal, you're going to be jumping through 4, 5, 6 different softwares. That means you have to purchase a license for each, you have to learn each of them, and you have to be pretty proficient in each of them. So that's where the steep learning curve comes into play. It's also difficult to collaborate on, and it's a very disconnected design system process. Toggle 3D, over on the other end, we have no special experience required. It's very affordable. We're going to be showing you the AI-powered creation methods that we've been talking about in order to scale 3D visualization. It's also on the web, which is kind of a new and different approach to 3D design. And what that really helps us do is make it accessible for a wide variety of users, but also it makes collaboration very easy. And lastly, I've said this one before, but it's one platform that really does it all. So our goal, kind of what we say inside the company, is that we're disrupting 3D design the way that Canva disrupted 2D design. And if you look at Canva versus Adobe numbers right now, Canva has 4 times the amount of users that Adobe does. So with Toggle, we're hoping to do something very similar and disrupt the way that 3D modeling is currently being done and invite a lot more users into the field that would have never considered themselves 3D artists before.
Yeah, and Dasha, I think this is an important slide to kind of talk a little bit about the competition, and then the next slide just reinforces it. But every one of these players are multi-billion-dollar software companies. Every one of them. There isn't one of them that's small. Not one. There's no $100 million players. There's no $250 million players. Adobe's 150 billion market cap. Autodesk is like 50 billion. 176 billion. It's gone up. And Autodesk 48 billion. Where's Toggle 3D gonna land? I wouldn't be surprised if there was a B with $1 billion there. Now, none of this happens overnight, right? Adobe's been around for decades. Autodesk is but it can go very, very quickly because it is SaaS, which means people come in, and I think one of the key pieces to this is the business model that we're bringing forward, where we're charging for a seat. Although I will say that the business model can change as we get more insights and input from our customers, right? And I think we're up to almost 200 customers that have signed up on the platform without any real marketing to date, and some really big boys as well. right? So, I mean, I always break it down to like basic thinking where if you opened up a storefront anywhere and there's a line out the door already before you even put your open sign up, uh, that speaks volumes that there's demand for Toggle 3D. So some people might think like, oh, it's pre-revenue or they haven't really started yet, or it's really early. I would caution you to not think that way, because this can go very, very quickly. Meaning, once people start using it, there's communities and they all speak to each other. And so as the community starts to adopt a platform, it becomes the standard within the community, and these things can go viral and scale very, very quickly. And that is the goal, right, Dasha?
Yes, exactly. Community and virality. Yeah.
Yep. So, you know, we have lots of high expectations for the platform to start scaling. I think even just recently, we tested some ads, and there was like a significant uptick in signups. But let's keep going, Dasha. Just want to jump in and talk every once in a while, but otherwise, let's keep going.
Yeah, no, that will summarize our presentation. So if you're ready, Evan, I can jump into the demo and we can go.
Yeah, let's do the demo. And as we're doing the demo, again, I might pop in here and there with some comments or questions.
Awesome. Let me reshare my screen here. Okay. So last time we were demoing Toggle, it looked a little bit different. We just recently did a design lift on Toggle in order to reinforce our strategy of user friendliness. As Evan mentioned earlier, we have quite a few early adopters without any real marketing. The most powerful part about it is that these early adopters have been very vocal with their feedback. So we're talking to them every day, we're implementing their feedback, and we're holding on tightly with these users to ensure that Toggle 3D really becomes what they're looking for in the market. So today, as soon as you jump into the homepage, you'll have sort of a guide of, where do you want to start? What do you want to do first? Sometimes people prefer to create a project folder and kind of categorize all their designs that way. Maybe you just want to start with importing all your 3D files first. Maybe you want to go straight into some of these templates, like creating a configurator or a material. So that's what we're going to do today. But just really quickly, I'll bring just to your attention all of the different pages we have here. So this is very similar that you'll see with kind of any other sort of software out there. We've increased the look, increased the design, again, going for that usability. But let's jump into the design editor. And we'll start with the configurator here, which you can make a 3D model. You can add the options here. This template really lets you do both. And we'll start with an FBX file. So that's one of the import files that we take in. We'll do headphones today, and we'll upload it to our converter. So depending on the size of the model, the complexity of the model, this can take up to a minute. It can take a few seconds. But ultimately on the back end, what we're doing is that conversion piece that I spoke to earlier. So we're taking the file, we're converting it to a web-friendly format, and we're preparing it as well. So it's not just, you're placing the item in the design editor, but there's some preparation that has to happen to make sure that when we add these textures, they look good and they're high quality. So that's what you just saw happen right now. In the converter, if there are any textures that come with your model, we'll apply those as well. That's the pop-up that you saw earlier, asking if I wanted to save any of my textures. But ultimately, here is our model today, so our headset. I'll walk you guys through how to add a material, and then I'll jump into the material template. We can get into the fun AI stuff. So really quickly here, so when you import your 3D model, you'll see your elements panel pop up. This is the panel with all of your different parts. So we're going to separate your 3D model if it's not part by part, so you can actually go through it and add textures to the different sections. You'll have your options panel here once you go to assign different options to the same material if you choose. And we have our lighting panel. So we have a variety of different lighting that you can use. And the importance of this is because the lighting is really going to affect the way your materials look. So we do provide that flexibility as well. So let's just start with grouping a few of these parts. So our suggested workflow is you group based on the material that you're going to be assigning. So I know that these sections of my model are going to have the same material. So I'm going to go ahead and rename it just so for my own part management practice here. And then I'll go ahead and add a material. So it's as simple as going through the material library and choosing which material fits best to my model. We have over 1,000 pre-made PBR materials. PBR is the industry standard for 3D modeling, so very high quality materials. And I can just go in here and pick a few. So let's go into fabrics, assuming this part of the headset's going to be softer. We can play around with different fabrics on the model. You'll see that they apply instantly as I add them. And then I can make tweaks to them further. So I'll just show you this one here. Let's do denim. That's pretty cool. What you can do here is not only can I change the color, but I can also jump in and change a few of the advanced settings options. So this is completely optional, but sometimes, maybe I want to make it a little bit more glossy or more on the rougher end. Maybe I want to increase the intensity a little bit. So we do offer sort of these customization tools that will tweak the pre-made material to make it exactly the way that you're hoping for. And the other really cool feature here is if I'm actually trying to recreate an object, so let's say these headphones, and they do exist in real life, I can go ahead and upload a reference photo and go ahead and just redesign that exact earpiece. Or I can experiment. I can go through this prototyping route where I'm trying out different textures and seeing what I like best. So once I decide that, yes, this is what I like, I can go ahead and close it and everything saves directly to the model. So I don't have to worry about sort of any of that extra saving aspect. Auto saves everything. So then I go ahead and I add textures to all of the different parts of the model. But let's say in our pre-built library of over 1,000 textures, there's particular fabric that I'm missing, I can't find. That's when the material creation template becomes very, very handy. So this is one of the features in our Pro platform or in our Pro pricing plan. And with this template, we allow users to make a PBR material in 3 different methods. So you can create something very simple, start from a color, create it that way. You can import a full-sized texture, and then we'll make it into a PBR material for you. Or you can upload a reference image from which you want to take the texture and crop a little piece of your reference image, and we will expand it and then make a PBR material out of it. So these last 2 are really where the AI comes into play. So I'll show you both, but we've simplified it very, very well to the point where all we really need from the user is upload the fabric that we want to create a PBR material out of, and then answer a few questions for us. So here it's going to ask me, what category is your texture? I know that it's a fabric, and then it's going to ask me to pick the finish. So I can zoom into the different finish types, see which one best matches my reference image, and then choose the finish. In under 10 seconds here, you'll see that the fabric will populate on the sphere. And this is now a PBR material. And let me explain what that is, because some people might think, you just took that same kind of image that you just uploaded and you just placed it on the material, on the sphere. But that's not what happens. So if I take my reference photo that you saw me upload earlier, and I just place it on the sphere, it's going to look very flat, and it's not going to wrap around the sphere. So you can see here, this material is very seamless. If I just took that swatch that I uploaded for reference and placed it on the material, it would not wrap around the sphere, and it's going to look very flat. So you can't just take a 2D material and kind of slap it onto a 3D model. You actually have to make it a PBR material. What that means is there's actually multiple maps here in the background that are being placed together to create the PBR material. And those different maps will give you that sense of that 3D look to your material. So the height, the transparency, the roughness, the glossiness, all of those different maps have to come together to make something like this.
Yeah. So Dasha, this is the AI piece that we just talked about in a press release. This is state-of-the-art technology. I don't think anyone else offers this ability. And if you think about it, it opens up the spectrum of, I'm just going to call them skins or meshes, textures, to unlimited. It's unlimited and it's custom, right? So anything and everything, fully customizable, on demand. Nobody has that. This piece of tech alone could probably be a standalone SaaS product in the market.
Yeah. So that one is really cool, but let me show you one other way, because sometimes, and this is where the press release from yesterday really kind of talks about it, but you don't always have the full texture available, right? So that first method of creation works really well if you have the entire swatch beautifully laid out for you. But sometimes you don't. Sometimes you only have a little section of a swatch. So let me also provide this demonstration here. This is just a couch I got offline, but what you'll see is, you don't have a texture anymore. You have an object. But from this object, I want to extract that texture and make it into a PBR material. So there's a flow in order to do that too. And again, it's very simple, but there's a couple extra steps here. So from here, once I upload the picture that I want to take the texture from, it's going to ask me, to do any perspective correction. This picture is good, so I'm lucky in the sense that I don't have to do that. But if you have sort of a skewed image where maybe this couch is a little bit sideways or something like that, it'll ask you to correct the perspective, and you can do that with these dots here. I can also just move on because this image is great. And the next step is cropping the texture. So this is the part where I actually go on the model or on my reference image, and I select the texture that I want to create. So I'm just going to crop this section here, and then continue on from there. So once I've cropped the patch that I'm trying to recreate, the next step here is it asks me to adjust the lighting. So I can just go ahead. I have these knobs. My goal here is to make this green patch as uniform in color as possible. So this is a great example. And then picking the pattern size. So with the pattern size, what I'm doing here is based on the crop image, how much of it am I going to take to create my seamless image? I'll choose something close to the 100%, so I get the entire image, something like this. And then this is the first part of the AI part. So what we're doing is we're taking that little cropped image and the pattern size that I had selected, and we are expanding it to be a full-size texture. And our goal is to create a seamless full-size texture. So you'll see here, it takes about 10-15 seconds. But on the back end, we're making a small texture into a very big texture.
The AI is working.
So you see here that it's been expanded, but there's a few other steps to actually make it a PBR material. So the next step here is again asking us, what's your category? I know it's a fabric. And then I go ahead again and pick the finish. So kind of going through here, what's my closest finish type? I'm going to go back up to here. So this is the second part of the AI. And this part here, so we're continuously optimizing it. We're going to eventually get it to a point where we're decreasing the amount of steps that you go through. But here again, you'll see the material. It's been made. I can play around with the cropped image a little bit, so I can kind of get rid of some of the bumps that you see here. But ultimately, this now too, we have all the PBR materials that will make this now applicable to 3D design.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So I have my fabrics here. I can continue going on with it, and then I can come back to the model that I was previously working on and go ahead and apply those materials.
And if you didn't have this technology, Dasha, let's say, Toggle 3D wasn't part of this workflow. Oh, look at that. That's the couch now on your headset. Yeah, that's the magic, is that it's all on demand, point and click. It's very magical. But if, let's say, you didn't have this magical tool, Toggle 3D, how would you do this? Like if you were doing this prior to Toggle 3D, or let's say today, people that don't use Toggle 3D, how does it work?
Yeah, so if I'm just talking about the texture creation, a lot of the times it means I have to go in and create, I don't have anything to start with, or I might have a very basic, let's say, plastic to start with. And then I have to layer all of those maps that I was talking to you about. I'd have to manually create all of those, layer them, and make sure that they resemble whatever plastic that I'm trying to create. So I might get the base of the plastic, and then I have to add all the details to it. Or I might get like a very simple fabric, and then I have to add the bumps, the shading, the color, and all of those different maps. Essentially, you would be doing manually. You'd have to know how to do them, what they do, how do you place them, how do you layer them.
Right. So if you want the photo, so what I'm hearing is, if you want the photorealistic look, the actual product looking like what you want it to be produced as, this platform just is, light years ahead of that manual. In other words, it could take you hours to create the mesh, the texture, without the software. With the software, as we saw, it's like minutes. And it all happens extremely, extremely efficiently. And if we look at 3D models that are out in the marketplace, you have different quality levels, right? You have photorealistic 3D models, which is what we're creating here. This is what all the brands and all the bigger players want. And then you have kind of like it's close enough, kind of 3D models that are out there that are the cheapy ones that everybody's moving away They're moving, like, that was kind of where 3D models were a couple of years ago, but now everything is photorealistic. And that's what this brings to the texture, is the photorealism.
Yes, exactly. It's photorealistic, it's high quality, but also it's recreating something you already have. Because oftentimes, even if I was to create from scratch, I'm usually imagining a specific fabric, right? Or a specific plastic that I want it to look something like.
Right.
Here, you don't need to do that. You can take exactly the plastic or the fabric that you're hoping to recreate, and you can do it here, as you saw, in minutes. And the beautiful thing too is, as a user, I don't need to know what happens on the back end, right? I don't need to know about all these different maps, all these different PBR materials. I just have to know that it's going to work, and I can apply it on my 3D model.
Yeah. This was great. Super, super excited. Not sure how much time we have left, Jack. Do you think we should?
Yeah. Let's get into the audience questions. Let's get into the questions.
I know Jack's been dying to answer questions. He's been dropping them in.
No, we got a bunch. We got a lot of questions. Now, I mean, I think the main takeaway though is that the whole purpose of the Toggle 3D is essentially so that a business can scale production of these 3D models, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Because in the past, I think, Evan, when you first came on, in 3 years ago, literally, this was a big job. I mean, like, it took sometimes hours or days to make these 3D models. That weeks. Okay. And now basically this is the automation. This is where, any business can do it immediately. Now, Dasha, I think what was interesting is that you mentioned some of the, the total market, the total addressable markets, and you gave some comps. I made it like Adobe Creative Cloud has 30 million users. CAD, which is a little bit more related to what you're doing, has like 7 million. And then there is the other one, that 3D one, which has also. So I think there's at least, I would think there's at least a couple 100,000, which is, by the way, a lot, users that are immediately addressable by Toggle 3D. So I mean, there's like literally, this business can go viral. Like again, the communities you're dealing with,
it's much
they all
bigger.
follow each other.
It's much bigger than that.
Yeah, if I can add, so what you saw there, you see the CAD ecosystem, you see the Adobe ecosystem. But if they wanted to do exactly what I showed in Toggle today, you would need to be both a CAD user and you have to be both an Adobe user. And then the Blender also as well. So Adobe is great, but there's still limitations. And so Blender is also often a software that is used. So you would need to know how to use the CAD software. You'd have to make the mesh. You'd have to then import it to Adobe, make your textures, and then apply it somewhere. Maybe that's Blender where you're applying it. Maybe it's the other Adobe Cloud. But nonetheless, you'd have to be a user of all these different softwares. You'd have to know all these different softwares. And so the ecosystem is not just kind of one there, but we're going after all of them. And we're also going after, we don't even know yet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hence, Jack, Toggle, like all these platforms, you would have to toggle between.
It's interesting. It's interesting because we're doing some videos here, and we're using 3 different pieces of software. Like some of it is AI, and basically
exactly. There's a lot going on.
And it was so much better for one single thing, which you're doing.
Yeah, think of this as an all-in-one solution. So we're now getting companies, major manufacturers coming into us that have thousands of CAD files saying we need to convert these CAD files into web, 3D objects. Can you help us? So that the platform does that for them. That's relatively easy. Now, then that's just one revenue stream. Now you can also go back to that same manufacturer. They're like, hey, we have 100 new products that we're creating prototypes of. We have the CAD files, but we haven't actually designed them yet. So you could bring those CAD files into Toggle, and then all of a sudden those 100 new products can be used to collaborate with the designer, with developers, with people all over the world can collaborate on the platform. That's a whole nother use case for the same customer though.
So right? how many total users are, how many actual realistically? Okay, so we talked about but Adobe has
it's every manufacturer, every brand. It's huge. It's massive.
We're talking about
I'm scared to put a number on it.
Okay.
Yeah, manufacturers, but also the users, right? So we are priced on a per seat basis. So the manufacturers, but then maybe they want their product designers on the platform. They want their marketing team on the platform. So take that, multiply that by 5, and that's how many seats each manufacturer may have just on Toggle.
Right. And then you have people that, let's say, are hired, potential outsource, people to help with 3D models for smaller operators, let's say. They'll be using Toggle 3D, right? So look, this could replace a lot of tech that's out there today. I don't want to say like we're going to put companies out of business, but there's going to be
it's definitely disruptive. This is a major. It's kind of like the reason why, again, we talked about this before. It's why Adobe paid $40 billion for Figma, because they knew that Figma would potentially.
Well, that was different. Yeah, that was different. This is more like why Facebook paid $1 billion for Instagram before Instagram, right? Because they saw it as a threat. Like it was going viral, and they were just like, all right, we'll give you $1 billion, right, to kind of absorb that. And now it's worth, I don't know, 100 billion. But the point is this is going to be perceived, I think, in the next year as a threat to some of the more entrenched legacy players like the Adobes and the AutoCADs. And from our standpoint, we're just building the tech. We're in the zone. We're using it in-house. NexTech uses this to allow us to scale our production for Amazon and others. And so that's really the magic about having all these different technology companies. And I'm saying companies because we're actually generating revenue and we have customers, right? So we're a company, not just technology. And so we're actually using our own tech in-house just like we were using our e-commerce sites to test, now we're using Toggle to allow us to, at a much more efficient level, create 3D models. And efficiency really means we're driving our production capacity up and our costs down. And so that's really the bottom line, right? Is that we're creating value for NexTech, and then it just keeps going throughout the ecosystem and supply chain, whether it's a manufacturer or whatever.
Okay, so before we get into audience questions, one last thing I just want to comment on this is basically, so for investors looking at Toggle 3D, there's really two things to consider, like what would drive the stock. Number one is obviously, the revenues, the actual business, growth creates a value, but part two is kind of the strategic value, again, for, one of these players like an Adobe or anybody else, because this potentially could disrupt their business. Again, like we talked about them paying $40 billion for Figma, or Facebook paying $1 billion for Instagram. Again, if they see this as potentially a threat, something that could disrupt their business, all of a sudden, what would it be worth for them to stop this potential threat? Is it 100 million, 200 million? I don't know what the number is.
I think we spoke earlier that there's no company in this space that is worth less than $1 billion. So I wouldn't be selling.
I want to be conservative. I want to be conservative. You want to be conservative.
Yeah, this is one time you should be conservative.
I don't want to be accused of
you're always out there, but now you're going conservative on me. This is one time. You don't need to be conservative, Jack. Let it go. Let it rip.
Let's get into let's get into the questions. We'll start with the next second, and then whatever. We got a bunch of questions. This might take an hour. Max is asking, when will you pre-announce Q4 22 numbers?
We already pre-announced our 2022 numbers.
I'm sorry, maybe he's thinking, when will you announce? When is the actual audited numbers coming out? Maybe that's what he meant.
Yeah, I think next month.
Next month. Okay. Associated with Amazon. Okay, so
predicated specifically to 3D modeling of Amazon, Scotiabank. So right now it's 3D modeling, but obviously that relationship can expand for sure.
Congratulations securing Procter & Gamble. I don't know if people even realize it. Okay, so you signed a Procter & Gamble just a few weeks ago. So he's asking, are they in the kick the tire mode regarding, or where are they at? Are they buying?
So they're buying.
Cash. They're paying cash.
They're paying cash. We had to go through hoops to get into business with them. It's early stage. It's always the same script. I don't think anybody realized, unless in business, how business works with big companies. They test out. They're never going to go all in. It's just not worth it to them. So they test. Let me give you, a small number of SKUs. Let's see how you do. If you face plant, game over, goodbye, have a nice day. That happens in business. We've never face planted. That doesn't happen to us, but I'm just saying they've had that experience. So we typically go through a test. The test, we always pass. We've never failed. That test then moves to a stage 1 type of order, and then it ramps up from there over a period of time. And at some point, they sign a multi-year large supply agreement. But that's just the way business works. It's not unique to us. It's the way it works.
Like the military, right? I mean, if you want an Air Force contract for $100 billion, first they test the stuff, then they order one, they go through a whole yeah.
As far as Target and Walmart, the answer is yes.
Okay. This, I guess we talked about this. Okay. So what catalysts are needed for the market to recognize NexTech as an AI company? Evan, what's interesting is, as a market guy, because when a theme becomes hot, which AI is about to become like the theme of the year, you have all these like wannabe fake, companies that, last week they were doing, I don't know, they were whatever.
They were mining gold or copper,
or whatever. Right.
But they were cannabis. Right. They were cannabis, or they were doing magic mushrooms.
Yeah, it's those guys. You see those guys. If you look at the guys. Right.
Exactly.
So the reality is, I think NexTech has basically been AI from like literally day one, and people don't understand it because I don't think if you talked about AI 3 years ago, people would have understood it.
Here's what I would say about that. In 2019, I sat with my co-cracker and I said, we need AI to make these 3D models. Like, we can't do this, manually. And he said, I'm not an AI guy. And it took a couple of years to get to the point where we now have AI talent in-house. So it's been something that we've wanted. I wouldn't say we were an AI company back in 2019. I would say it was definitely on our radar and on our roadmap, and now we're here.
Okay, Tom is asking a question. Maybe probably a lot of people. Okay, so will NexTech retain access to this AI and ML technology?
100% yes. We're going to be, the early adopter, one of the large customers, and we will have some kind of a perpetual licensing agreement with all of our spin-out companies. We are never going to give up access to all this technology that we've been building. That's the beauty of these spin-outs, is that we get to use the tech. We get, to participate in the upside of the development. But at the same time, and our investors get the free stock dividend, as we've talked about. But at the same time, we have pure play, highly focused teams that are just driven to succeed on one thing. Historically, we're operating 4 different companies. It's a little, difficult, let's just say, to do that under one mothership. So this is the best path forward for our shareholders, and really for these companies to be successful. They really need a hyper-focused team. I mean, Dasha is hyper-focused. This is all she works on. Occasionally, I pull her into some other nonsense, but most of the time, like 99% of the time, she's doing Toggle 3D work. So that's really important, and that did not exist before these spin-outs started to go into motion.
Okay. Which company are you acquiring in the future? Spin-offs need raising. Okay. No, it's are you? I don't think we haven't talked about any acquisitions, right? So there's no acquisitions on the table right now. Just
here's what I would say about acquisitions. We've made 10 acquisitions since we started this company, NexTech, and we're always looking. We're always in talks. It has to be the right fit. But I wouldn't say that anything's quote imminent. I would just say that we're always actively pursuing acquisitions. That's just been part of our DNA and part of our business strategy.
Maybe that could be an upside surprise at some point. You never know, right? All of a sudden, somebody wakes up and there's a.
You never know. You never know. We could acquire.
There's always.
Yeah, we can acquire a little AI company that figures out how to.
Maybe OpenAI. Yeah. Maybe that's the big one. Maybe they need a vehicle to merge into to go public. It would be NexTech. Would be ideal.
Yeah,
or there's other.
Yeah, maybe we could create a deep fake of you, Jack, and it's really like you don't even do these shows anymore. You're out playing golf or whatever. We have a deep fake of you, and we just continue. That'll be our new acquisition.
That'll be it. So he says, "Oh, will you beat this year's financial? Can you do more than 15? What Okay, so the Amazon deal is about 7 million plus revenues, right? A ballpark 7 million plus. You should add.
Yeah, let's just be clear, Dilsher. I'm not putting a number out there. Okay, the analysts are going to put their numbers out. That's their talk. From my perspective, it's blue sky from where we're sitting. There is no limit to the amount of demand that's in the market for our 3D models. We do want to make sure that the wheels don't come off as we're growing. It's you have to be able to control the growth 2023, what I can do is this. I can tell you guys that Q1 is going to be a good quarter. Q2 will be better than Q1. Q3 will be another record quarter. And Q4 is the potential that we blow the doors off the building, where Q4 is just parabolic. Things just go into a whole nother gear, because that's really, as we're entering 2024, that's how I see 2023 playing out. And not just with our 3D modeling business. I think that can happen with Toggle 3D. I think that can happen with ARway, and I think even our events business. So it's all happening. Q1 is going to be good. Q2 will be better than Q1. Q3 even better still, and Q4 I would say is the wild card, where it could just get really, really exciting.
The star, look, the reality is like the stars are all like aligning right now. This is like this, magical moment that happens, every, 100 years.
Well, for us, it's every 3 years, Jack. This happened in 2020.
No, it's a lot of the same things. Look, it's okay. Oh, so this, I think Pitts understands. Yeah, so we're saying some much better questions than you saw, folks. People understanding. I mean, like, when you realize, like 6 months ago, I think back in April, I remember when the first interviews in April, like people were like, "Yeah, what's going on? Like, is this like whatever?" And you remember you said, "Hey, we're going to be creating value. We have a bunch of these technologies we're going to be spinning out. We're going to be, jettisoning the legacy businesses of, the old e-commerce business, whatever." And it's happening, and people like, it's like, of course, when it happens, already people, they already forget it, that it actually happened. This is the
right. Well, I mean, part of it. Look, this is always about the team. Right? And Dasha, when did you join? I forget.
Almost 2 years ago.
2 years ago, right? And Dasha now has emerged. She's on your show. She's now a repeat
appearance. This is already.
Yeah. So, we have really, I'm calling it the dream team. And without the team, you can't really achieve your dreams, right? And so Dasha now has become a key player on the team. There's other key players which we're going to be.
So there's a deep bench. There's a bench of talent.
There's a deep bench, and the bench is only getting smarter and stronger and smarter and stronger and better at what they do on a daily basis. And this is pioneering work. I don't think our investors understand that what we're doing has never been done before, that we're on the bleeding edge of 3D technology. And this is, heavy lift stuff. This is not lightweight. And when we crack into a market with disruptive technology that's 100 billion or 200 billion or whatever it is significant. It is. And it will end up showing up in our stock price. I'm not going to predict, what month, what day of the week, or when it happens, but I will say that historically, if you go back and you look, investors do seem to kind of notice when we start reporting quarter after quarter of sequential record revenue. That's what happened in 2020 with our e-com and events business, and I'm predicting that we're going to see that happen again in 2023. And if history repeats itself, it could be a very exciting year for investors.
Okay, Edwin, we got a bunch of questions. Let's try to rip through these. We got 30 good
more. You keep showing the same questions.
No. We got a lot. Okay, no, I'm just putting up on the screen, but we haven't asked them yet. Okay, so does NexTech have a relationship with the Vuzix smart device?
No.
What about patents? Do you feel protected in your verticals? Who are the potential competitors?
We're either filed patents or filing patents, and we feel protected. Yes.
Cupix. I don't know. Is Cupix?
You know these guys, Dasha? Never heard of them.
Okay. Who could knock off Toggle, or is there anyone with that capability?
Dasha.
No, so we're not seeing any startup in the space or kind of doing what we're trying to do. We're mostly competing with the legacy systems and trying to change the way that they're approaching 3D modeling.
What about this? Can this like Chat GPT, whatever the Dolly, whatever? Can they do this type of thing from there?
No, not for ecom. Like, these, like, there's some tech out there that can create a 3D model. Look at that guy's bicep. That was an arm wrestler. Do you see that?
Yeah. Look at this. Okay,
he's flexing on screen.
I didn't even notice. Okay. So this is the question. So we're getting into financial questions. We're getting into the good stuff now. What's ARway's monthly that's ARway. So what's ARway's monthly burn rate? What's Toggle's burn rate going to be? What's okay? Ask financial questions. He's asking.
Yeah, Mr. Arm Wrestler, Mr. A. We're going to call him Mr. A. So all of our information is public, just so you know. Like, there's nothing hidden. If you actually go online, all these questions in terms of the burn can be answered. But I'll answer them for you anyway. So ARway is essentially burning around 100 a month. That's ARway. Toggle about half of that. And if you look at 2023, as I mentioned, we're going to see a good Q1 across all of our businesses: ARway, Toggle 3D, NexTech. Better Q2, breakout Q3, and really blow the doors off in Q4. It's going to ramp up.
Does your AI parts library archive consist of products designed on Toggle 3D AR?
So the parts library is essentially really for AR-tized 3D, although I think we could probably use some of the parts from Toggle 3D. It's a little tricky because if you're bringing a CAD file in, we can't use other people's IP. So we cannot take anything out of Toggle that's like a CAD file and put it into our parts-based library.
Will you have paying customers in Toggle 3D?
Yes,
public.
We already do.
Oh, you have customers now. Okay.
I think
this is not vaporware. This is not like one of these vaporware AI companies. We're seeing a lot. This is amazing. Like, there's a lot of these, wannabe these.
They gravitate towards you, Jack. I know they come. You're like a light, and they're like moths. They come up and they're like.
So you get all these moths. All these moths from Vancouver. The Scamcouver guys. Who are doing the cannabis last year. They're all going into AI this week. Like this week, they're all doing AI, and they got nothing. They got whatever. This is a real business. Just so people know.
Yeah. Obviously. I mean, look, we have some big names on the platform. I don't know if Dasha wants to share any of them, but there are some big brands that are using Toggle. We're in the testing phase.
Enough said, Evan. You have Amazon, you got P&G, who are already customers. I mean, this is next. I mean, this is a real business. This is like, I think what investors, I think the problem is, unfortunately, because the company, it's traded in Canada, and a lot of people think, anything to do with Canadian stocks, they're all scams or whatever. This is one of the few real ones. I mean, literally, I think Canada, Vancouver, it's like 99% of them are like wannabe fakers. This is like one of the few, like maybe out of just 3 real companies on the CSC, this is one of them. So, and of course, all our other clients are real.
Well, Dasha's in San Diego, so
there you go. So this is, and you're in the U.S. also. So this is what makes it. This is what makes this a real company, because everybody here is an American. It's not like these Canadian scammers. This is the just as an aside, I remember when I was in the brokerage business, like this is back in the day, like anything was a Canadian order came in, it was like the first thing, scam, anything Vancouver, Vancouver, Salt Lake City, Boca, those were like automatically, no good.
Yeah.
So this is not that type of thing, sir. This is a real business.
Are you saying there's a discount in our stock because maybe we're a Canadian company?
No, this is not a joke. There is 100% a discount to the stock because it trades in Canada.
So if I delisted, I'm not saying I'm going to do this. I'm not saying this. I don't want our investors to lose their mind.
Yeah, if you dropped Canada, you went to the NASDAQ, and if it completely delisted from Canada, the stock would probably triple like automatically. It's 100%. Yeah, I mean, just and don't tell anybody. Yeah,
Maybe
just
we should have our investors vote, like, if they want us to delist so they could get a double or a triple. First of
can
all, I
you?
don't believe that. That sounds a little.
No, I'm exaggerating a little bit. Okay, can you expand on the P&G contract?
No, Mr. Elephant Rider.
Okay, here's a great. We haven't addressed this question. This is the everybody's worried about. You did a raise. Was it last week? I think it was, and I think people are saying, "Oh, it's dilution. Oh my God, the world is coming to an end." Like, can you explain that this is not dilution? This is like this is tiny raise, and the stock has already rebounded. Like this is I did a video on this. It's so annoying.
It's a tiny raise, okay, and Dustin, you gotta stop thinking about this. Okay, this blinds you from reality, right? So you're looking at the stock price coming down from $1 to 80 cents Canadian or whatever, and you're like, oh, someone just poked me in the eye. No. See, you're thinking short term. You have to understand public companies need to be able to raise capital to make acquisitions, to hire talent, to continue their growth, right? Those things really solidify your investment. So it's one step back, 3 steps forward. That's the way you need to think about it. I'm not raising money for no reason, Dustin. I don't know how many shares you own, Dustin, but I own almost 11 million shares. So if I'm raising money, I'm doing it because NexTech, that's what the best thing is for the shareholders. I'm the largest shareholder. I'm not just the CEO. I'm the CEO, founder, largest shareholder. If I'm raising money for NexTech, you should just realize that that's for your benefit. And it gets annoying that people, ask these questions, because not to say that
it goes back to the whole Canadian thing. It goes back to the whole Canada thing, where you have all these Canadian companies, these Vancouver guys, who basically, they pump up the stock and they do a massive raise where there's actually literally there's dilution, or even worse, a lot of these guys are incompetent and they raise the money when the stock is at 52-week lows, and then there is real dilution. I mean, I don't want to mention any names, but we've seen companies where they could have raised when their stock was flying high, there was massive interest, and they raised instead of raising at $2, they're doing a raise at 20 cents or 15 cents.
But again,
that's dilution. NexTech is raising, and they are like literally the stock has outperformed. I think people need to realize what's happened in the tech space. NexTech, if you do a chart of ARC, Kathy Woods, which is basically the index of disruptive innovation, and NexTech side by side, NexTech has outperformed the disruptive innovation stocks in 2022 by a massive margin. I mean, it's basically been break even on the year, whereas most of those stocks are down 90%. And the fact is, you're raising money here at like literally near the 52-week high, which is in a tiny amount. I mean, it's like 3 million. It's like, that's what is it, like 1% of the 3, but it's like a tiny percentage.
Look, we took a sip, not a gulp, of capital, and it allows you, Dustin, to sleep at night, and it allows us, if there's an acquisition, to take advantage of it, or if there's other corporate developments that we need a little bit of capital for, to be able to have that capital. So it's growth capital. That's it. As far as re-up and reorder from Amazon, look, it's a 3-year contract. Okay, so it's for the next 3 years. We're going to be supplying, Amazon. But here's the play with Amazon. It's not Amazon re-upping or reordering. It's that they're going to be opening up their entire Seller Central platform to allow people to bring 3D models in. Think about that. Go back to Toggle 3D. Go back to everything we've been showing and demoing. The demand for 3D models is going to go through the roof when Amazon opens their platform and allows people to bring 3D models onto Seller Central. And NexTech is a preferred 3D model supplier. And Amazon's already sending us some customers that are new, and we're bringing some of our customers onto onto the Amazon platform. Now, if you look at the growth, you should be looking at an announcement that we landed another big name. We already have Amazon. That business, again, 3-year contract. There are other significant contracts that could be announced that I think are even more exciting as an investor.
Hey, let me just catch up. Wow, we got so many questions. We have a lot of really good questions. I hope we have time here because a bunch of good ones just popped up, and while we were going through these. Okay, so we got questions about the actual dividend, the spin out. Hang on, let me bring this up. It's just okay.
Yeah, you look intense. You look like you're really.
Yeah, we got so many. I mean, this is really like I got to read this. This is literally this, Evan. Literally. By the way, this is a very good sign because the last time I saw this many questions for a stock, like this many, like it was like overwhelming. It was a stock. I don't know if you remember when you actually came on the platform. There was a stock, was a biotech stock that went from 50 cents to $10.01. They had the same thing. You remember that company, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So Cytodyne. So it was the same thing. And then people were complaining. Oh, the guy's asking the same. I can't help. There's like so many questions. It's we're gonna. Yeah, okay. Let's get to. Let me just bring back up. There's literally. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the question. There's a bunch of people asking this question. How many
arm wrestlers back? I love this guy. Look at his arm. He's got a pretty big peak there, right? Like
this guy could be doing.
He's literally an arm wrestler. I actually think he's an arm wrestler. Yeah. Like he's not even like some of these other guys. Elephant rider. I don't believe that. But this guy's actually, I think, an arm wrestler.
Professional arm wrestler.
Yeah.
That's actually, I think there's a league. Okay, so so bottom line is, if you own, to clear it up, let's say you own.
What's my opinion on this? Okay, so
here's 1,000 shares of NexTech. How many? Here's 1,000 shares. How many toggle are you going to get?
Here's my opinion. So first of all, it's the same structure as ARway, so you can expect about the same number of shares in Toggle 3D. My opinion is that I'm letting a small number of investors. It's a tiny group invest in Toggle 3D directly at 25 cents. It's a minimum investment. You got to be willing to hold for 12 months, and you got to be willing to buy at least $25,000 plus worth of the shares. So you got to think in terms of 12 months, and you got to at least buy 25,000 and really closer to 100,000. I'm personally writing a big check into Toggle 3D. But if you want to own more shares, the stock's publicly traded. You could go into the market and buy them when it starts trading, right? So that's the beauty of having a public company, is that you can buy more. And if you think about it, if you look at ARway, ARway currently trades a little over $1 with a $30 million market cap, let's say. Is that a lot? Maybe it seems like a lot because it was IPO'd at 25 cents. But 30 million is a drop in the bucket. We're talking about billion-dollar market caps, and 30 million. I mean, that means 99% of the upside is still there for investors, and that's Toggle 3D. That's ARway. I mean, so I think people have to stop looking at the glass half empty. I'm only getting 4%. It's more like, hey,
what is, by the way, Procter and Gamble? What does Procter and Gamble give you as a dividend? How much? I think it's less than 3% is their yield. How much does Amazon give as a dividend? I don't think Amazon gives anything.
Well, think about it like this. You guys are getting a sneak peek into the next disruptive technology. These shows that we're doing are to educate, so maybe you're going to see that you're going to get a small dividend, whatever it is. You could go into the market.
Stop giving out. Yeah, people don't appreciate it.
Yeah, they could go into the market with confidence because we're putting on these presentations and say like, okay, like stock's $1 in the aftermarket or whatever it is. I know I'm buying quality. I'm buying Dasha. I'm buying Evan. I'm buying this whole team. I've seen the tech. The other investors don't have that information. When I'm saying new investors, They've never heard of Toggle. Like they're going to discover it when the stock's $5 or $100 or whatever, right?
Okay, Evan, let's do the math. If somebody owns 1,000 shares of NexTech today, how many shares of Toggle will they get?
Here's the math. I'm going to do it in a top-down way. There's approximately 100 million shares outstanding on NexTech. We're going to dividend 4 million shares to NexTech shareholders.
It's 4%.
4%.
That's a lot. I mean, by the way, that's a huge number. That's, first of all, that's 48% annualized yield. I mean, when you think about it, you get, and this is no, it's not a joke. This is, I mean, if NexTech was picked up in like the newspapers, when they had those dividend yield, the old columns, I don't know if anybody reads the news, but it would show as like a yield of like 48, because also there was a dividend last year of AR weight. That was 4%, right?
Yeah.
So basically, NexTech is paying out. So if you owned, we're up to over 8% plus those things.
So if you had 100 million shares, you get 4 million.
Yeah.
So if you have 1 million shares, you get 400,000.
It's 4% yield. That's a big. I mean, it's
right?
It's a big number.
No, hold on. If you have 10 million shares, so I'm going to get like 400,000 shares as a stock dividend. If you have 1 million shares, you'll get like 40,000 shares. If you have 100,000 shares, you get what? 4,000.
4,000. It's 4%. It's a real number. But it's like, the fact that people, I think people were complaining about getting a free gift, a 4% yield. I mean, what is the bank paying? Well, the yield.
They just want more.
They want more, and it's annualized. By the way, it's annualized. This is the second. This is like crazy.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I want our investors to understand. You own more than the 4% dividend through NexTech. NexTech is going to hold 13 million shares. So do the math on a pro rata basis. You have to figure that, there's some math here. I know people don't like to do math, but I could do it for you. If you send me your shareholdings, Dasha and I will sit down and we'll send you back a spreadsheet on what percentage you own, including your share ownership in NexTech and your dividend. Okay, we'll leave it at that. The history book review. This is one of my favorite commentators because the history book review. It's just so random. History. I mean, it's like, anyway, NexTech shareholders are basically receiving a 50% dividend, in my opinion, in spinouts, but only if NexTech holds their 50s. Evan commented, Toggle working. Yeah, exactly. If Toggle goes to $1 billion, then yeah, NexTech, if we have 50%, we have 500 million in shares. Yeah. And if Toggle gets bought out, I mean, look, there's a lot of things that can happen. We're just having fun talking right now. Let's just talk. Let's have a little fun. Toggle gets bought out for $1 billion. Press release. Okay. NexTech gets 500 million. What are we going to do with 500?
By the way, a very good point. This is a very good point. So if somebody gets the dividend, right, so basically they're getting their 4% yield, right? The reality is this guy's nailed it, because if you look at the past performance of NexTech spinouts, so AR weight went up to $2 almost, right? $2 roughly? $2.50. So it was a 10x. So basically that would have been a 40% yield. So now you're going to, if this thing becomes a 10 bagger, let's say forget about it. Let's just go as doubles, which is realistic. It could be $1 stock. Why not, right? By the way, how many shares are going to be outstanding of Toggle? Like, what's going to be the market cap at 25 cents? How many shares out?
So we're going to have a $6.5 million post money valuation.
That's basically like a free gift. Yeah.
Probably, right? So, we're waiting for the business evaluator to come back, but let's just say that's the number.
Let's say it's even 10. Let's say it's 10. Yeah. I mean, realistically, you could be at
26 million shares, 26 million shares outstanding, let's just say. And again, this is not set in stone. We're talking about something that hasn't happened yet. So there's, potential variations on this, but the point is that 26 million. If you have a dollar stock, that's a $26 million valuation. If you have a $2 stock, that's 52 million. If you have a $5 stock, that's 125.
But basically, somebody, if they own 1,000 shares of NexTech today, right? They're basically paying, what is it, $750, right?
No, let's say $800.
Okay, it's $800. Okay, so it's $800, right? Now
that's too little. That's too little. They're gonna get what? 4 shares?
1,000 shares. Okay, let's make it 10,000. Okay, they own 10,000 shares. So they own 10,000 shares. That's $8,000, right? So now they're gonna get Canadian. Okay, so now they're gonna get 400 shares. They're gonna get 400 shares of Toggle 3D, which is a quarter, right? Let's say the stock goes to 50 cents. Let's say it goes to 50 cents. Right, like basically just doubles, which is again less than what the last one did. So that's how much is that? That's
That's $200.
200. So now all of a sudden you got $200 on your 8,000. So what is that? How much is? What's the yield? No, I did the math wrong.
No, it's
10,000.
fine.
10,000.
We're not going to do the whole. We're not going to go through math on this.
Okay. Bottom line is it's much bigger than a 4% dividend. It becomes like this guy says, because it's like a 10%, which is literally it's like 100% annualized yield. I mean, that's not a joke. It's 100%.
It's a 1,000,000% return. Okay.
No, but obviously, if it's an annualized,
look,
and you just,
it's crazy. Dashi, you see how this thing just, we just go off the rails. We're at like. We're talking.
Okay. So I think bottom line is people are getting a free gift. They're getting a free gift, which is we can argue forever if it's a 4% yield or 40% annualized, whatever it is. They're getting value created. This is the bottom line: is anybody who was a NexTech shareholder in the last 12 months has basically gotten, they've made money, right? Because the stock went up. You got the dividend. You're getting another dividend. Who else is doing that? I don't see any other tech company doing. I don't see anybody else doing that. NexTech has outperformed the tech sector. I mean, this is like it's amazing. We're just getting started into a mega trend, which is AI and AR, the convergence. And we should wrap up on this, right? This is literally this.
I just want to end it on. Right now. ARway has roughly a $30 million market cap. When it was inside NexTech, it was zero. Toggle 3D. Today has roughly a zero valuation. We're not getting any value for Toggle 3D. When that comes out as an IPO, it could be another $30 million valuation. That's $60 million worth of value in the first inning. Again, that's really just ground zero.
We're just at the bottom of the bear market right now.
We're very, very bottom. So the thinking is again, as 2023 plays out, we start to gain traction. These valuations are going to go up quite dramatically. You could end up owning 3 companies with a total market cap of $300 to $500 million versus where we are today. So I couldn't be more excited. I know Dasha's super excited. I know Jack's super excited. And I think we could leave it at that, Jack. Unless you want to jump up and down.
No. One last thing is the idea of dividends. People don't realize how powerful dividends are. The whole thing is if somebody reinvests dividends, the whole drip thing, reinvesting dividends, and if somebody kept, it compounds because again, this is, I don't think this is going to be the last spin out that NexTech does. I mean, potentially a year from now, there might be 2 more. I mean, based on the track record, right? There might be 2 more, and each of these companies could perform. And some of them could become even bigger than NexTech. It's possible, right? I mean, NexTech itself was a spin out, lest anybody forget. I mean, this is the crazy. I mean, basically, NexTech today, the legacy shareholders of NexTech, they get those shares for free, right?
Yes.
And that NexTech became a 12-bagger within 18 months of that spin out, or 2 years, whatever the number is. So I mean, this is like. I think we're standing here at the threshold of like an massive.
One day, Jack, we're going to have to put a chart up on screen to show how this, because we can't do it in our heads. It's just too complicated.
abstract.
We're gonna have to show on a chart, and literally
Value created. Yeah.
really
Because it's like
take our investors to school. Maybe Dasha and I will work on that.
Yeah, it's sort of like, those things where they say, okay, if you bought, $1,000 worth of McDonald's in 1970, whatever, it became worth like 20 million because the dividends reinvested, everything. And other companies that we've seen. I mean, look, it's really, it's one of the, it's compound interest is one of the great, wealth creators.
The ninth wonder of the world.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, everybody, thank you, Evan. Thank you, Dasha. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining our live stream. We'll see you on the next one.